There are wounds that cut deeper than betrayal, and words that scar more than actions. The night I overheard my wife comparing me to her ex, not just as a husband but as a man, I felt my soul collapse inside me. It wasn't just the infidelity, it was the humiliation, the quiet theft of dignity from the one person I trusted most. That single moment didn't just break my marriage. It reshaped the person I would become. Before everything unraveled, my life was simple. I had built stability from the ground up, pouring myself into long hours at work, saving every dollar, and ensuring that the woman I loved never had to worry about anything. I wasn't born into wealth. Every cent I earned came from sweat, grit, and sacrifice. My wife, Claire, had always admired that about me, or so I thought. When we first met, she was drawn to my discipline, the way I managed to hold everything together even when life pushed hard. I wasn't the loudest or the most charming man in the room, but I was reliable, steady, solid. That steadiness carried us into marriage. I covered the rent, the bills, vacations, and the life she always dreamed of. But cracks started to appear slowly, in places I almost ignored. She began making little comments about her past, about the adventures she used to have before she settled down. She'd laugh at memories with old friends, especially one ex who seemed to pop up in conversations more than I was comfortable with. I brushed it off, thinking it was just nostalgia, the kind of harmless reminiscing everyone does when they look back on their youth. Over time, though, her tone changed. Nights out became more frequent. She came home later, distracted, her phone clutched tightly in her hand. I told myself I was imagining it, that stress, work, and routine had made me paranoid. But deep inside, something told me the foundation I had built wasn't as solid as I believed. One evening, we were at a small gathering with friends. Laughter, drinks, casual conversations. Claire sat just a few seats away, talking with one of her girlfriends, unaware that I could hear. And then it happened. Her words pierced through the noise, through the laughter, through every layer of trust one had wrapped around her. She was comparing me to him, her ex, not in a nostalgic way, not with kindness, but in the cruelest way possible. She spoke about me as though I was less of a man, less of a partner, less of everything compared to the ghost of someone she once loved. I froze. My heart pounded, my face flushed, but I didn't react. I smiled through the rest of the night as though nothing had happened. But something inside me had shifted. The man who carried the weight of responsibility for years felt the crushing weight of betrayal settle on his chest. The days that followed were heavy. I replayed her words again and again. At first, I blamed myself. Maybe I wasn't enough. Maybe I hadn't been attentive. Maybe my long hours at work had dulled the spark. But the truth was harsher. It wasn't about what I lacked. It was about what she no longer valued. Claire continued with her routine, acting as though nothing had changed. But for me, everything had. I noticed the dismissiveness in her tone, the way she treated my efforts as if they were owed rather than appreciated. Every dinner I paid for, every bill I covered, every comfort I provided. Suddenly it all felt like feeding the very hand that struck me. I began pulling away quietly. I didn't confront her. I didn't beg or fight for her validation. Instead, I started planning. I looked at the life I had given her, the financial cushion she leaned on, and I asked myself, why was I breaking myself to fund a woman who disrespected me? So I made a decision. I cut her off. The joint credit cards were frozen. The luxuries she enjoyed, shopping sprees, expensive salons, fine dining, stopped overnight. I redirected my money toward myself, my health, my growth. I didn't announce it with drama. I just took back control of my life, silently but firmly. Claire noticed immediately. The first week, she brushed it off. By the second week, the arguments started. She accused me of being controlling, of trying to punish her. But I didn't respond with rage. I didn't raise my voice. I simply told her that respect was a two-way street, and if she couldn't value me as a man, she had no right to my sacrifices. The power dynamic shifted. The woman who once carried arrogance in her tone began to reveal panic in her eyes. She realized the comfort she had mocked was the very comfort she couldn't live without. But by then, something inside me had already hardened. The confrontation came one night when she finally exploded. Tears, shouting, excuses, all flooding the room at once. She claimed she never meant what she said, that she was drunk, that I had misunderstood. But words, once spoken, can't be erased. The truth of her comparison had already burned itself into me. She begged for forgiveness, accused me of abandoning her, tried to twist the story into one of my cruelty. But I stood my ground. For the first time in years, I didn't bend, didn't compromise, didn't try to fix what was broken. I told her I was done being measured against ghosts. I told her I was done financing a life that mocked my worth. And as her voice cracked under the weight of my silence, I realized something profound. Betrayal wasn't just about what she had done. It was about what I had allowed by giving endlessly without demanding respect in return. That night, she packed a bag and left. Not forever, at least not then. But enough to show me that when faced with accountability, she chose escape. And for the first time, instead of chasing after her, I let her go. In the months that followed, my life didn't crumble. It transformed. The man who once tied his worth to providing for someone else began investing in himself. I hit the gym, worked on my health, focused on my career with a clarity I hadn't felt in years. My finances grew, my confidence solidified, and my sense of self returned stronger than ever. Claire tried to come back. She sent messages, made calls, even showed up at my door. But each time, I looked at her, and all I saw was the woman who measured me against another man and thought I wouldn't hear. I had already changed. I wasn't the man desperate for her approval anymore. I wasn't the provider begging for scraps of appreciation. I was free, and that freedom came from betrayal. Sometimes the most painful words are the ones that wake us up. They remind us that respect isn't begged for. It's demanded through self-worth. So I'll leave you with this. If someone you love betrays you, do you keep giving until nothing is left? Or do you finally choose yourself?